Life has a strange way of teaching you lessons you never asked for. I never thought I'd be here, telling the story of a decade-long marriage like it's some kind of therapy session. You think you really know someone, right? You trust them, build a life with them, and then suddenly, they do something that makes you question every decision you've made. I never imagined it would be my wife who'd destroy that trust. At least, not in the way she did. It's bizarre, isn't it? When you think of betrayal, you picture something sneaky. Late-night messages, secret phone calls, that type of shady behavior. But not Emma, my wife of 10 years. No, she threw it at me straight out of the blue like it was no big deal. She casually suggested we open up our relationship, like it was some normal suggestion. Can you believe that? Is that even a thing? Am I crazy for thinking that's just wrong? I always thought marriage was about loyalty, not whatever mess she was proposing. I'm no writer, so don't expect a perfect story. I'm just an average guy, trying to make sense of my marriage problems. I'm putting all of this out there because I don't know what else to do. Maybe sharing this will help me understand it, or maybe someone out there has gone through the same thing and can relate. So, here's the deal. I'm Justin, 37 years old. Just a regular guy. I've been married to Emma, who's 34, for about 10 years. We were young when we got together, full of excitement. Back then, everything felt like it was falling into place. She seemed like everything I ever wanted. Smart, funny, and beautiful. For a long time, things were great. But 10 years is a long time. Life happens. People change. Somewhere along the way, the spark faded. I'll be honest, we got tired of each other. It wasn't that we hated each other, nothing that dramatic. But after 10 years of sharing everything, the bed, the bills, the chores, the routine, the excitement started to slip away. It became just that, routine. And, yeah, our personal life pretty much disappeared. At first, I ignored it. We were busy with work and life, all the usual stuff, but months went by, and there was virtually nothing between us. And when we did try, it felt forced, like we were just going through the motions. I'm not proud of it, but I'd lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this was what our marriage had become. So I suggested Emma see a therapist. I thought maybe there was something deeper going on that she wasn't telling me. Surprisingly, she agreed without putting up much of a fight. I thought, okay, maybe we're going to fix this. But no, those therapy sessions didn't do anything for us. In fact, things only got weirder. I don't know if she was actually opening up to the therapist or just pretending, but whatever was happening in her head wasn't helping. Things only got worse after she reconnected with Freya. Now, let me tell you about Freya. I never liked her. She's one of those free spirit types who always acts like she's got everything figured out. Whenever she's around, I feel like she's silently judging us, like she thinks she knows better. She's divorced, which isn't surprising given how she talks about marriage. To her, marriage is just an old-fashioned thing for people who can't handle being on their own. So when Emma started hanging out with Freya more, I knew something was off, but I didn't think it would lead to this. One evening, after Emma spent the whole day with Freya, she came home, and right away, I knew something was wrong. She had that look, like she was trying to hide her nerves behind some fake confidence. She sat me down on the couch, all serious, and started with, "Justin, I've been thinking about our marriage." You know, when someone begins a conversation like that, you can already tell it's not going to end well. My stomach dropped, but I tried to stay calm, bracing myself for what was coming next. And then, she said it. She suggested we open up our marriage. At first, I thought, is this some kind of twisted joke? But no, she was dead serious, laying it out like it was the most rational idea in the world. In her mind, this was the solution to our problems. She told me it wasn't cheating because I'd know who she was with, where she was going, everything. Like somehow that made it okay. She talked about freedom and trust, as if that's what this was really about. I just sat there, stunned, trying to process what she was saying. My wife, the woman I'd built my life with, was asking for my permission to sleep with other people. How was that not cheating? How was that supposed to fix anything? I couldn't wrap my head around it. It felt like a betrayal, like she'd already made up her mind and was just waiting for me to approve. I asked her why. Why now? Why this? She went on about how Freya had helped her see things differently, how we were stuck in a rut, and this was a way out. She kept saying it wasn't betrayal if you knew about it. Like that made it easier. Like hearing your wife wants to sleep with other men would hurt any less just because she's upfront about it. The conversation ended in a mess. I was too angry, too stunned to think straight, while she was so sure she was right. We didn't scream or shout, but the tension between us was thick enough to cut with a knife. Eventually, we both just got up and went to separate rooms, like strangers in our own home. She's probably in the next room right now, texting Freya, getting more ideas on how to turn our marriage into some kind of open-door policy. After that night, when she dropped the bomb about an open relationship, things didn't just go back to normal. How could they? Emma, though, seemed to think it was all settled. Like I'd agreed to her crazy idea just because I hadn't walked out that night. The weeks that followed were a strange mix of tension, uncomfortable silences, and her heading out more often. And it wasn't just with Freya, either. She was actually going on real dates, with other men. I don't know what I was thinking, letting it happen. I guess I just froze, stuck between wanting to pack up and leave and being paralyzed by the shock of how we ended up here. She'd leave the house, all dressed up, wearing more perfume than she had in ages, and just go. Every time she walked out the door, my stomach would twist. I wanted to scream at her, at myself, but somehow, I couldn't summon the strength. Instead, I'd stay home, nursing a beer, feeling more trapped and disgusted with each passing day. The thought of leaving was always there, hanging over me, but something held me back. Maybe it was the years we'd spent together, or maybe I was just too scared to make the final break. One night, after she went out yet again, I realized I couldn't sit there alone anymore. I needed to talk to someone who wouldn't just feed me comforting lies about marriage. So, I texted my buddy Oscar. Oscar and I go way back, all the way to college. He's the one guy who always tells it like it is, no sugarcoating. We decided to meet up at our usual dive bar, the kind of place with sticky floors, a pool table in the back, and dim lighting that somehow made everything feel a little less harsh. I walked in and spotted him at the bar, already holding a drink. Oscar's got this smirk, like he knows something the rest of us don't. He's never been married, and never really believed in it, so I wasn't sure how he'd react to everything. I sat down, ordered a whiskey, and let out a long, exhausted sigh. "What's going on, buddy? You look like hell," he said, not even looking up. I didn't bother with small talk. I just laid it all out. How Emma had dropped the bomb about an open relationship, how she was already seeing other guys, and how I felt completely stuck. Oscar listened quietly, his usual smirk slowly fading as I spoke. When I finished, he looked at me, shook his head, and said, "Man, you need to get the hell out of that marriage. She's walking all over you. Divorce her." I expected something like that from Oscar. Honestly, it's exactly what I wanted to hear. But then, after a brief pause, he took a sip of his drink and added, "But before you do, why not make things interesting?" I raised an eyebrow, unsure of where he was going with this. "Look, you want to get back at her, right?" he said, leaning in with that mischievous glint in his eye. "Don't just sit there like a doormat while she's out having all the fun." I blinked, surprised. "You're saying I should just bring another woman home? For revenge?" He shrugged, that smirk creeping back onto his face. "Why not? She's made it clear your marriage doesn't mean much to her anymore. You're thinking about leaving anyway, right? So, before you go, make her feel what you've been feeling. She's out there doing whatever she wants while you're sitting at home like a fool." I sat back, processing his words. "Take control. Hit her where it hurts," he finished. At first, I shook my head. "I don't know, man. That feels wrong. Like I'd be stooping to her level." Oscar laughed, finishing off his drink. "Wrong? Come on, Justin. What's wrong is sitting at home, wallowing, while she's out with other guys. You don't have to go crazy. Just go out, have a good time, and show her she's not the only one who can play this game." I sat there, swirling my whiskey, thinking about it. The idea was insane, totally unlike me. But the thought of showing her how it felt, seeing her reaction, it was tempting. Maybe Oscar had a point. Why should I be the one sitting around, suffering in silence, while she explored her so-called freedom? If she wanted an open relationship, maybe it was time to show her what that actually looked like. I sighed and finished my drink. "All right, screw it. Let's do this." Oscar grinned like he'd just won the lottery. "Now you're talking. Let's hit up the club and find you someone." We left the bar and headed downtown to a nightclub we used to go to back in the day. Not exactly my scene anymore, but tonight was different. Tonight was about taking control. Tonight was about proving a point. The club was packed, lights flashing, music blasting, people everywhere. It felt like stepping into another world, a world where the frustration and bitterness of my marriage didn't exist. I wasn't thinking about Emma or her crazy idea of an open relationship. For once, I just wanted to forget everything. Oscar and I went straight to the bar, ordering shots of tequila, whiskey, whatever they had. The alcohol kicked in quickly, loosening the tension I'd been carrying around. And then I saw her. She was stunning. The kind of woman who stands out in a crowded, dark club. Tall, brunette, with a tight dress that made her impossible to ignore. I watched her for a moment, gathering the nerve to approach. After a few more drinks, I didn't need an excuse. I pushed through the crowd, leaned in, and threw out some half-sober line that I can't even remember now. But it didn't matter. She smiled at me, and that was all I needed to keep going. We started dancing, just two strangers enjoying the night. The more we drank, the closer we got. Her hands pressed against my chest, my arms wrapped around her waist. Soon, it felt like the whole club had faded away, the lights, the crowd, the music. Everything blurred together. I didn't care about anything else. For the first time in months, I felt alive. The kiss came next, messy and reckless, but I didn't care. She pulled me closer, and the heat between us kept building. One thing led to another, and before I knew it, we were slipping off the dance floor, weaving through the crowd toward the back of the club. We stumbled into the men's room, laughing like a couple of teenagers sneaking around. As soon as the door closed, she pushed me against the wall, kissing me hard, and I couldn't think about anything else. We didn't waste time. It wasn't the most romantic place. Hell, it was a club bathroom, but I didn't care. I was completely caught up in the moment, in her, and we just went for it, right there. When it was over, we stood there for a moment, catching our breath, and reality slowly started to creep back in. She looked at me with a satisfied grin, fixing her hair in the mirror. And that's when a thought struck me, one that, in my drunken, angry state, seemed like the perfect way to get back at Emma. I turned to her, leaning against the sink, and said, "You know, my wife just asked for an open relationship." Her eyes widened, and her eyebrows shot up. "Wait, you're married?" she asked. I nodded, smirking a little. "Yeah, but that's not the interesting part." I went on. She suggested we start seeing other people. I didn't exactly give her an answer, but now I've got an idea. She looked curious, but I could tell she was still processing the whole married thing. "What's the idea?" she asked, crossing her arms and leaning against the counter, unsure whether to laugh or walk away. I took a deep breath, boosted by more liquid courage than common sense, and said, "Come back to my place. Let's do it again." But this time, in front of her. She stared at me for a moment, trying to figure out if I was serious or just completely out of my mind. Then, to my surprise, a sly smile spread across her face. "You want to do this to me in front of your wife to get back at her?" "Yeah," I said, feeling a rush of adrenaline just thinking about it. She's been out doing whatever she wants, expecting me to sit here and be okay with it. So why not show her what it feels like? You're gorgeous, and trust me, she'd hate every second of it. It's perfect revenge. We went back to the bar. She laughed, shaking her head, clearly amused by the whole thing. Well, that's a first. No one's ever asked me to help get back at their wife before. I shrugged, grinning. There's a first time for everything, right? She thought for a second, then finished her drink, her face set with determination. All right, let's do it. Sounds like it could be fun. And just like that, the plan was set. I didn't think twice about the fallout or how it might blow up in my face. All I cared about was getting back at Emma, making her feel some of the humiliation she'd put me through. We left the club together and headed back to my place. The whole way there, I imagined Emma's face when she saw us. Part of me still couldn't believe I was actually going through with this, but the other part, the angry, fed-up part, wanted this more than anything. This wasn't just revenge. It was a way to take control, to stand up for myself after months of feeling like a fool. We got to my place late, stumbling through the front door, adrenaline and alcohol still coursing through me. My heart was racing, not just from what had happened at the club, but from what was about to happen. The house was dark and quiet. I figured Emma was already asleep, but there was no turning back now. The woman I'd met, Isabella, as she had introduced herself, walked in confidently, like this was just another adventure for her. We didn't waste any time. We went straight to the living room, where we sank into the couch, caught up in each other, fueled by anger and a burning need for payback. Then I heard it, a noise from upstairs. A door creaked open, followed by footsteps. Emma was coming down. At first, I thought maybe I could play it cool, pretend nothing was going on. But when she reached the bottom of the stairs and saw us, her face told me everything. She froze, eyes wide with shock. I could see the horror and disbelief written across her face. For a second, I almost felt bad. Almost. "What the hell is going on?" she shouted, her voice cutting through the silence like a knife. But I didn't stop. Neither did Isabella. She kept going, and I just locked eyes with Emma, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction wash over me. Emma's face twisted in fury, and she took a step forward, like she was about to pull us apart herself. But I held up my hand, palm out, stopping her in her tracks. "Free relationship," I said, my voice steady, dripping with sarcasm. "Isn't this what you wanted?" Emma's face went pale. Her mouth opened like she wanted to scream, but no sound came out. She looked like she wanted to say something, but instead, she just stood there, staring at me, a mix of rage and shock in her eyes. For a moment, I thought she might actually hit me. But then she just turned and stormed back upstairs, slamming the bedroom door behind her. And that was it. The moment I'd been building up to, the revenge I never thought I'd actually go through with, had unfolded right in front of me. The rest of the night was a whirlwind, intense and raw in a way I hadn't experienced in years. It was reckless, sure, but it was exactly what I needed at that moment. Isabella and I didn't hold back. We stayed tangled up on that couch, letting go of everything in the chaos of the moment. It was insane, out of control, maybe the wildest night I'd ever had. And, somehow, it was also the best. As the first light of dawn crept through the blinds, I felt an unexpected sense of calm wash over me. Isabella got dressed, throwing me a playful smile as she slipped her number into my hand. "In case you ever need a repeat performance," she said with a wink. Then she walked out, leaving me standing in the living room, looking down at that number. For the first time in weeks, I felt a strange sense of freedom, like I'd finally taken back a part of myself. But there was one final thing I needed to do. I walked upstairs to our bedroom, where Emma had shut herself away all night. I opened the door to find her sitting on the edge of the bed. Her eyes were red from crying, her face a mix of anger and humiliation. She didn't even look at me as I stepped inside. I stood there for a moment, looking at this woman, the one I had once shared my life with, the one I thought I'd grow old with. But now, seeing her like this, it felt like I was looking at a complete stranger. "I'm filing for divorce," I said, my voice cold and steady. Emma didn't flinch. She didn't argue, didn't try to stop me. She just nodded, her mouth tightening into a thin line. "Good," she muttered, barely above a whisper. "I'm happy to agree to that." There was nothing left to say. No pleading, no fight. I turned and walked out without looking back, feeling the weight of the past decade finally start to lift off me. It was over, and I was more than ready for a fresh start. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, nursing a hangover and trying to make sense of the whirlwind of the past 24 hours. The divorce, the crazy revenge, the fact that my life had exploded overnight. It was all catching up to me. But amidst the chaos, one thought kept creeping back to me. Isabella. She'd left her number, and for some reason, I couldn't stop thinking about her. After staring at my phone for what felt like ages, I finally dialed her number. Maybe I just needed some sense of normalcy after all the madness. Or maybe I needed to see her again, to talk without the weight of revenge hanging over us. I didn't really know, but I dialed, and after a couple of rings, she picked up. "Hey, it's Justin," I said, feeling a little awkward. "From last night." There was a brief pause, and I could almost hear the smirk in her voice. "Yeah, I remember," she replied, sounding amused but also a bit hesitant. "What's up?" I ran a hand through my hair, feeling embarrassed. "I was wondering if you wanted to grab coffee or something. Actually talk, without all the craziness." She laughed softly. "Coffee, huh? After last night? That's a bit of a shift." "Yeah, well," I muttered, feeling a bit uncomfortable. Last night was something else. Figured we could, talk like regular people for a change. She paused for a moment before responding. "Okay, coffee sounds good." We met up at a small cafe near my place, somewhere neutral, where the chaos of the last day could feel like a distant memory. When she walked in, I couldn't help but feel a little strange about it all. I mean, we'd hooked up in a club bathroom, and then, well, what happened afterward was its own level of crazy. Not exactly the standard way to meet someone. Now, here we were, sitting across from each other, both a little awkward, avoiding eye contact and pretending the coffee was more interesting than the elephant in the room. Finally, Isabella broke the silence. "So, that was an interesting night," she said with a small, sheepish smile. I nodded, chuckling awkwardly. "Yeah, that's one way to put it. I'm not usually that guy, Neither am I, she said quickly, taking a sip of her coffee. Honestly, I wasn't even supposed to be there. By accident. I raised an eyebrow, curious. She sighed, leaning back. Yeah, my boyfriend. Well, ex-boyfriend now, dumped me a few days ago. We'd been together for a while. And then, out of nowhere, he tells me he's moving to another city and doesn't want to try long distance. So, I went to the club to blow off some steam, get my head straight. And then, well, you know the rest. I hadn't expected that. I'd assumed she was just there for a good time. But hearing her story made me feel a bit guilty. It wasn't just a wild night for her. It was a way to escape, just like it had been for me. We were both running from the messes in our lives. Sorry to hear that, I said, meaning it. Breakups are rough. She gave me a little smile, though it didn't quite reach her eyes. Yeah, they are. There was a quiet moment, and I figured it was time to be honest about my side of things. I told Emma I'm filing for divorce, I said, watching her reaction. Her eyes widened a bit. Really? That was fast. Yeah, I guess last night was the final straw, I admitted, running a hand through my hair again. I couldn't keep pretending it was fine. She's been going out, seeing other guys, and I don't even know why I let it go on this long. But after last night, after what we did, I knew there was no going back. It's over. She nodded slowly, absorbing what I'd just shared. That sounds complicated. That's one way to put it, I said, echoing her words from earlier. It's a mess, honestly. We were together 10 years, and then out of nowhere, she drops the whole open relationship thing on me like it's no big deal. I guess I should have seen the signs, but I didn't. And now here we are. Isabella looked at me thoughtfully, her expression softening. I get it. Sometimes, you don't see things coming until they hit you square in the face. Exactly, I said, feeling strangely understood. For a moment, we just sat there, a quiet understanding settling between us. We sat in silence for a while, each of us lost in our own thoughts. I hadn't known what to expect from meeting Isabella for coffee, but I certainly hadn't expected to feel this strange sense of connection to her. She wasn't just some random girl from the club anymore. She had her own story, her own pain, and somehow, we'd collided at just the right, or maybe the wrong, time. I felt something stirring inside me, a kind of sympathy, or maybe even something more. I didn't know how to label it, and honestly, I wasn't ready to say it out loud. Part of me was still in shock over everything that had happened, while another part was hesitant to admit that I might actually want to see where things could go with Isabella. So, I kept my thoughts to myself, sipping my coffee and stealing glances at her, wondering if she was feeling the same. The divorce process is almost over now, and I can't even describe the relief. It's like this huge weight I've been carrying around for years is finally lifting off my shoulders. Looking back, Emma and I had been done long before she suggested the whole open relationship thing. I think I knew it deep down, but I was too comfortable in the routine to face it. Now that it's nearly over, I can breathe again, focus on things that actually matter, like building something real with someone who respects me. Isabella and I have gotten close since that wild night. Actually, more than close, we've been living together for a while now. Yeah, I know it sounds fast, but sometimes things just happen that way. After everything we both went through, being together felt right. We both needed someone to lean on, and somehow, out of all the chaos, we've built something solid. Not that it's been completely smooth sailing. True to her nature, Emma tried to stir up trouble for us. At first, she pretended she didn't care about the divorce, acting relieved to be rid of me. But when she found out I was with Isabella, she lost it. She spread rumors, said some cruel things, and even showed up at my place a few times, causing scenes. I think it finally hit her that I was moving on, and she couldn't stand it. But none of it fazed Isabella, and honestly, it didn't bother me either. We were too solid to let Emma's drama affect us. That only seemed to make Emma angrier. From what I've heard, she's been hopping from one casual fling to the next, parading a new guy around every few weeks, like she's trying to fill some void. I get it, she's searching for something. But the way she's going about it, I don't see it ending well. That's not my problem anymore, though. I'm out, and that's what matters. And now, it's been another 2 years. A lot has changed, and for once, things are going my way. Life has thrown me a few unexpected twists, but this time, they're the best kind. First, Isabella and I got married about a year ago. It was a small ceremony with close friends and family, nothing over the top. After everything I went through with my previous marriage, starting fresh with someone who truly understands me felt incredible. And here's the big news. We're expecting a daughter in a couple of months. I never imagined I'd be this excited to become a dad. But here we are, getting ready to start a family. It feels surreal. Beyond that, I've kept myself busy by starting a small business. I've always had a bit of an entrepreneurial itch, and after the divorce, I decided it was the perfect time to go for it. It's nothing huge, just a home renovation company focused on kitchen and bathroom remodels, with a small crew helping me out. Business is steady, and it's been incredibly fulfilling to pour my energy into something productive. I love the hands-on work, and being my own boss is more satisfying than I ever imagined. As for Emma, well, I remember saying I didn't think her lifestyle was going to end well. Turns out, I was right. Word around town is she's dealing with some serious consequences. Apparently, she caught a venereal disease that's hard to treat. It's not something I would wish on anyone, but all those casual flings seem to have caught up with her. And it doesn't stop there. Rumors about her have been spreading fast in our small town. People talk, and from what I hear, it hasn't been easy for her. I'm not celebrating her downfall or anything. I don't take joy in anyone else's misery, but it does feel like things played out exactly as they were meant to. I got my fresh start, and she's dealing with the outcome of her choices. Life has a funny way of balancing the scales, I guess.